Dear students, this is RHS Prasad, lecturer in chemistry, VSM College, Ramachandrapuram. Today we are going to discuss about part 2 in decomposition techniques in analysis, that is unit 2 in paper 2, second year MSc Analytical Chemistry, third semester. In the previous class, we discussed about decomposition and dissolution. So in this single slide, I wish to give a clear picture about the dissolution and decomposition. Generally, dissolution or dissociation, it is corresponds to separation of ions from each other in a given polar solvent. Generally, polar solvent example, water. Now, the total number of cations and anions remains always equal, that is charge neutrality principle. These ions are solvated, means they are surrounded by solvent molecules with oppositely charged polar part of solvent. For example, if you dissolve NaCl solution in NaCl crystal in water, then Na plus ions and Cl minus ions are solvated by water molecules. So dissociation or dissolution means just separation of ions. Okay, separation of ions, a compound into ions according to ionic substances. If it is covalent substance, here also you can observe HCl covalent will be dissolved in aqueous solution or water, then it can produce H plus ions and Cl minus ions. Next, decomposition. It is just breaking of solid into two or more substances on heating or photochemical or by electrochemical. So example, CaCO3 can produce calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. So dissolution is separation of ions, decomposition is separation of molecules. Today we are going to discuss about a second topic, that is decomposition of samples with acids. Generally water, HCl, hydrogen fluoride, that is hydrofluoric acid, nitric acid, sulfuric acid, perchloric acid. So in this class I wish to discuss about the water, HCl and HF decompositions or their use as decomposition of samples. Generally, in inorganic salt analysis, if you take any salt, either copper sulfate or calcium sulfate or magnesium nitrate, whatever salt you took for the analysis to detect the anion and cation or mixture of salts, whatever. First of all, you need to dissolve that salt initially in cold water. If it does not dissolve, then you can heat it, means you need to dissolve in hot water. Otherwise, you can go for dilute HCl. Next, concentrated HCl. Next, dilute H2SO4. Next, concentrated H2SO4. Next, dilute HNO3, etc. etc. Why? Because first of all, if you go for any analysis, either qualitative analysis or quantitative analysis with particularly solid substances, first you need to decompose or further dissolve the substance to analyze the sample. So that is the reason why the decomposition of samples is very essential to go for qualitative or quantitative analysis. Okay, now let us go with the decomposition of water. As you know very well, water is inorganic, transparent, tasteless, odorless, and nearly colorless chemical substance. Its chemical formula is H2O, means it contains one oxygen and two hydrogen atoms, and the oxygen atom contains two lone pair of electrons, which can donate the lone pair of electrons to produce complex compounds, means coordination complex also. It is a polar inorganic compound. It dissolves many salts and hydrophilic organic molecules. Hydrophilic means which are attracted by the water molecules are called as hydrophilic, such as sugars, simple alcohols like ethanol. They will be dissolved in water. Water also dissolves many gases such as oxygen and carbon dioxide. So that is the reason why generally water contains dissolved oxygen, and if you take soda water is nothing but which contains carbon dioxide in it. And many organic substances like fats and oils are hydrophobic, hence they are insoluble in water. So hydrophilic substances can dissolve, hydrophobic substances cannot dissolve. So many inorganic substances are insoluble. For example, if you take any metal oxides, sulfides and silicates, they will not be dissolved in water. So water is widely used in chemical reactions as a solvent or reactant. Generally, in inorganic reactions, water is a common solvent dissolving many ionic compounds as well as other polar compounds such as ammonia compounds, which are closely related to water, means which are having the polar nature. In organic reactions, it is not usually used as a reaction solvent because it does not dissolve the reactants well and is amphoteric, means acidic and basic both natures are there, and it is nucleophilic one. So particularly for inorganic reactions, water is very useful any chemical analysis. But if you go for organic compound analysis, water is somewhat less useful when compared to non-polar solvents. Next, if you wanted to determine the sedimentary rocks, generally the determination of water soluble components, that is sedimentary rocks are nothing but which are deposited because of flow of water, as it assists in the elucidation of their protogenesis means which can uh, produce the H plus ions. The aqueous extract contains sodium and potassium chlorides, natural sulfates of alkali metals, etc. And magnesium, copper, and zinc sulfates are water soluble minerals, as you know. And I think copper sulfate, it is dissolved in water, which gives a blue color solution. Okay, right. The solubility of gypsum decreases with increasing the temperature in water. It is a special case. Why? Because calcium sulfate, if you take this calcium sulfate to dissolve in hot water, it is somewhat impossible. Why? Because in cold condition, calcium sulfate will dissolve, and in hot conditions, calcium sulfate may not. Means the solubility of calcium sulfate decreases with increase in temperature. If you take any salt solubility, if you heat the solution, then its solubility increases. Particularly, let me give you one example. If you take some sugar in 1 liter of water, then unless the sugar dissolved in water in our daily usage, if you heat the solution of sugar, then if you add much amount of sugar, then it will be dissolved. Means generally for some solutes, if the temperature increases, then the solubility of that particular solute increases. But in the case of calcium sulfate, its solubility decreases. Why? Because in the previous class, I have discussed about a simple topic that is called heat of solution. In heat of solution, the heat of solution may be means the after formation of the solution, the heat may be released or the heat may be absorbed. So, if you dissolve the calcium sulfate, it can produce heat, means it is exothermic reactions. So, for exothermic reactions, if you increase the temperature, then automatically the solubility of that particular salt decreases. Uh, so, this is a special case, that is about the solubility of gypsum. I think you know the formula of gypsum, that is CaSO4 dot 2H2O, dihydrated calcium sulfate. And the solubility of calcium carbonate depends on the content of carbon dioxide in water. Generally, calcium carbonate will not dissolve in water unless it contains carbonic acid in water. So, how the carbonic acid is present in water? If carbon dioxide is there in water, then it can combine with H2O molecules, then H2O plus CO2, that is water and carbon dioxide, can produce carbonic acid, which is an acid, can dissolve calcium carbonate. So, unless carbonic acid is present, then calcium carbonate does not dissolve in water. So, the solubility of calcium carbonate depend on the content of carbon dioxide in water. Next, the time needed for quantitative extraction of the soluble salts, it is differ from different rock types. Means it depends on the nature of the rock or the sample. And if cations which are adsorbed on clay minerals are not extracted by water, and so the solution of high ionic strength solvents such as ammonium chloride, ammonium acetate, etc., must be used to liberate these ions. Try to understand, we are discussing about the decomposition of different samples with water. Okay, right. If water dissolves those samples, means uh, the water contains some specific properties according to the nature of the water. Okay, Next, several borates dissolves in water at elevated temperature. Elevated temperature means somewhat high temperature. Aqueous sodium carbonate solution has been used for the determination of sulfates in zinc minerals, and minerals of uranium group easily dissolved in warm sodium carbonate solution. I think you know what is mineral. Mineral is nothing but the source uh, which can get a metal is called mineral. Next, alkaline hydroxides like NaOH, KOH, etc., have a similar effect as sodium carbonate. For example, if you take 25% KOH solution, uh, then with this 25% KOH solution, you can extract 96 percentage of tungsten. Right. So till now we discussed about the decomposition with water. Let me clarify or give a clear picture. First, these are generally the introduction to water. Next, these are some examples where you can decompose the samples by using water. For example, inorganic substances and inorganic reactions, organic reactions, whether they continue in water or not, means whether they are possible with water or not, the analysis is possible or not. Next, determination of water soluble components. Next, sodium potassium chlorides. Next, magnesium copper zinc sulfates. Next, solubility of gypsum. Next, solubility of calcium carbonate, whether occur or not. And different types of rocks, it depends on the nature of the rock. And ammonium chloride and ammonium acetate strength. Next, borates dissolution. Next, aqueous Na2CO3. Next, minerals of uranium group. Next, alkaline hydroxide uh, to extract some metals. Next, decomposition with HCl. Generally, HCl is the main basic solvent. Try to understand here, basic means not base. Basic means important, or uh, it is not acidic or basic meaning. Is it clear? Okay, right. So basic means main. So HCl is the main solvent in the analysis of ores and minerals. The advantages of HCl are generally HCl is easily volatile solvent. If you uh, can observe it, if you open the concentrated HCl bottle, then you can observe the fumes which can occur or which can come from the bottle. Means it is easily volatile solvent. It has weak reducing effect on dissolution. It has weak reducing effect. I think you know about reduction and oxidation. Okay, right. And next, if it forms strong complexes with majority of metals. Why? Because chloride ion, it has oxidation state, that is -1. It is monovalent ligand, so that it can form many complexes with metal ions. Next, the decomposition with HCl is carried out in glass vessel. Why? Because if you use any metallic equipment to decompose any substance in that particular metallic vessel, then HCl, as it is acid, it can corrode the metallic bowl or vessel. అంతే కదా, ఏదైనా ఎక్స్పెరిమెంట్ చేయాలి అని అనుకున్నారనుకోండి, ఎక్స్పెరిమెంట్ చేసేటప్పుడు మీరు ఆ శాంపిల్ని గ్లాస్ క్రూసిబుల్లో గానీ లేదా గ్లాస్ టెస్ట్ ట్యూబ్లో కానీ తీసుకొని లేదా గ్లాస్ బీకర్లో కానీ తీసుకొని హెచ్సిఎల్తో డిజాల్వ్ చేయాలి. అలా కాకుండా మీరు మెటాలిక్ వెసల్ ఏదైనా తీసుకుని అంటే ఏ ప్లాటినం క్రూసిబుల్లో లేదా సిల్వర్ క్రూసిబుల్లో లేదంటే కాపర్ క్రూసిబుల్లో తీసుకొని మీరు డిజాల్వ్ చేయడానికి ట్రై చేశారనుకోండి, హెచ్సిఎల్ కెన్ డిజాల్వ్ దట్ మెటల్ ఆల్సో. Okay, so that is the reason why the decomposition with HCl is carried out in glass vessels particularly, because prolonged contact, if you uh, leave it for a long time, then HCl corrodes even platinum or gold vessels. Generally platinum and gold are noble metals, they will not react with any acids generally. But if you uh, take more time for dissolution, then automatically HCl can dissolve even platinum or gold vessels. So that is the reason why you should not use uh, these metal vessels for the decomposition of any sample with HCl. Next, decomposition with HCl at elevated temperature means somewhat high temperature. It must remember that chlorides of metal ions such as germanium, arsenic, antimony, tin, that is stannic, and mercuric are volatile. So you should very clear about the decomposition technique. So if you wanted to use HCl as decomposing reagent, first of all you should know whether the sample contains germanium, arsenic, antimony, tin and mercury, which are whether present or not. If they are present, then you should not use HCl solution as decomposition reagent. ఎందుకనంటే ఒకవేళ డికంపోజిషన్ రియేజెంట్గా దీన్ని యూజ్ చేశారనుకోండి, మీరు క్లోజ్డ్ వెసల్లో కాకుండా ఓపెన్ వెసల్లో చేశారనుకోండి, మీకు కావాల్సింది ఎదర్ టిన్ డిటర్మినేషనో లేదంటే మెర్క్యూరీ డిటర్మినేషనో చేయాలని అనుకుంటున్నారు అనుకోండి, ఇప్పుడు ఏమవుతుంది, మీరు ఆ హెచ్సిఎల్ యాడ్ చేయగానే ఆ స్టానిక్ క్లోరైడ్గా ఫామ్ అయినా లేదంటే మెర్క్యూరీ క్లోరైడ్ ఫామ్ అయినా అది కాసేపటికి ఏమవుతాయి, వాలటైల్ అయిపోతాయి. ఓపెన్ వెసల్లో చేస్తే ఏమవుతుంది, వాలటైల్ అయిపోతాయి. దెన్ మీకు కావాల్సిందేమో జర్మేనియం డిటర్మైన్ చేద్దాం అనుకున్నారు లేదా ఆర్సెనిక్ డిటర్మైన్ చేద్దాం అనుకున్నారు. సో హెచ్సిఎల్ యాడ్ చేయగానే అవి ఎవాపరేట్ అయిపోయిన తర్వాత మీరు ఏం డిటర్మైన్ చేస్తారు. సో దట్ ఈస్ ద రీజన్ వై యూ షుడ్ బీ వెరీ కేర్ఫుల్ అండ్ యూ నీడ్ టు రిమెంబర్ దిస్ పాయింట్. Okay, whether the sample contains these ions or not. If they are present, then you should not go with this HCl decomposition. If you wanted to go, there is no other way to decompose that particular material, then you should use a closed vessel. Okay, right. Next one, what are the applications? You know very well, generally carbonate, bicarbonate minerals are readily dissolved in this particular HCl solution with evolution of carbon dioxide. Generally, you know, some minerals like calcite. Calcite is the calcium carbonate, and aragonites are dissolved very easily in dilute HCl at room temperature. But if you go for dolomite, it is a combination of magnesium carbonate and calcium carbonate, and magnesite, it is magnesium carbonate, siderite, it is iron carbonate, or decomposed HCl on heating. So calcite and aragonite, these two are dissolved in dilute HCl, but these dolomite, magnesite, siderite are decomposed in HCl on heating, after heating only. Next, second application is iron oxides and hydroxides of different hydration states dissolve in HCl. If you go for example, hematite, that is Fe2O3, that is magnetite, it is a combination of ferrous oxide and ferric oxide, that is Fe3O4, will decompose in concentrated HCl within 15 minutes. Next, oxymanganese oxides, they are called like ores. They are pyrolusite manganese dioxide, manganite, manganese oxyhydroxide, that is called as manganese manganite, reduced by effect of HCl. they liberate chlorine gas. You can observe a simple reaction here. Okay, right. So they can liberate chlorine gas so that they will be decomposed into, so manganese oxide can be decomposed in the presence of HCl as MnCl2, chlorine gas, and water molecule. Okay, so and try to observe, these are all decomposition reactions. Decomposition reactions mean the molecule, the compound will be uh, dissociated into several compounds. Okay, next, HCl decomposes hydrated oxides when compared to anhydrated oxides. I think you know hydrated molecules and anhydrous molecules. Hydrated molecules mean the salt which contains water molecules in it, it is called as hydrated salt. Unless it contains the water molecules, it is called as anhydrous salt. In our laboratory you can observe hydrated zinc sulfate and anhydrous zinc sulfate, hydrated calcium carbonate, anhydrous calcium carbonate. So generally HCl decomposes hydrated oxides uh, other than more easily than anhydrous oxides. The solubility of bauxite it depends on the mineral composition. The mineral which contains high concentration of aluminum, such as corundum, that is alumina Al2O3, the use of HCl is not suitable. Okay, generally what is bauxite? It is the ore of aluminum. It is bauxite. Okay, next, minerals with a large extent of hexavalent uranium and thorium are not readily decomposed with HCl. Okay, so aluminum will not be decomposed easily, and these uranium and thorium are not really readily decomposed in HCl when it contains excess extent of hexavalent ions. And seventh one, natural lead sulfide, that is called as galena, formula PbS, is easily decomposed in concentrated HCl at room temperature. If you wanted to decompose galena, you can decompose by using HCl. Here you can observe where the decomposition of HCl is useful, where is not యూజ్ఫుల్, ఎక్కడ మనం యూజ్ చేస్తామో ఎక్కడ యూజ్ చేయము. అంటే ఇక్కడ ప్రతిదీ కూడా తెలుసుకోవాలన్నమాట. మనం అనాలిసిస్ చేయడానికి ముందుకు వెళ్ళేటప్పుడు అక్కడ ఏ ఏ కాంపౌండ్స్ ఉన్నాయి, ఆ కాంపౌండ్స్లో ఏది డిజాల్వ్ అవుతుంది, దేనిలో డిజాల్వ్ అవుతుంది, వాటర్లో డిజాల్వ్ అవుతుందా, హెచ్సిఎల్లో డిజాల్వ్ అవుతుందా, లేదా హెచ్ఎఫ్లో డిజాల్వ్ అవుతుందా, లేదా H2SO4లో డిజాల్వ్ అవుతుందా. డిజాల్వ్ అవుతుంది కదా అని చెప్పి దేనిలో పడితే దానిలో డిజాల్వ్ చేసేస్తే కుదరదు. ఎందుకనంటే మీరు ఏదైనా అనాలిసిస్ చేసేటప్పుడు అది డిజాల్వ్ అయిన తర్వాత ఆ పర్టికులర్ మనకు కావాల్సిన అయాన్స్ సొల్యూషన్ ఫామ్లో ఉన్నాయా లేదంటే గ్యాసియస్ స్టేట్లో వెళ్ళిపోయినాయా లేదా. ఎందుకనంటే కొన్ని వాలటైల్ సబ్స్టెన్సెస్ ఫామ్ చేస్తాయని ఇందాకే మాట్లాడుకున్నాం మనం. సో దీస్ పాయింట్స్ ఆర్ వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్. ఓకే, రైట్. నెక్స్ట్, antimony dissolves very slowly and incompletely when boiled with HCl. Next, molybdenite, that is MoS2, and cinnabar, it is a mercury mineral, that is HGS. Cinnabar are not readily decomposed by HCl, but these are decomposed in the presence of chlorate and chlorite ions. They can be dissolved, but in the presence of chlorate and chlorite ions only. Okay, right. So calcium sulfate in the form of gypsum, it dissolves readily when treated with 1 normal HCl at elevated temperature. So here you can observe almost 10 applications. First one related to carbonate bicarbonate minerals, second one related to iron oxides and hydroxides, third one related to manganese compounds, manganese oxides, and fourth one related to the hydrated oxides and anhydrous oxides, fifth one related to alumina ore, that is bauxite, sixth one related to hexavalent uranium and thorium minerals, and seventh one related to the lead mineral, that is galena, and eighth one related to antimony, ninth one related to molybdenum sulfide, molybdenite, that is molybdenum mineral and mercury mineral, and next calcium sulfate. Okay, so this is about decomposition of HCl. Next, decomposition of HF. సో ఐ థింక్ ఇప్పటివరకు చెప్పింది మీకు కాన్సెప్ట్ అంటే హెచ్సిఎల్ గురించి అది కాన్సెప్ట్ అర్థమైందని అనుకుంటున్నా. అంటే ఇక్కడ విషయం ఏంటి అని అంటే డికంపోజిషన్ అనేది ఎలా ఉంటుంది, యాసిడ్స్తో డికంపోజిషన్ ఎలా ఉంటుంది, ఎక్కడ ఆ యాసిడ్ పర్టికులర్ యాసిడ్ యూజ్ అవుతుంది, ఎక్కడ ఆ యాసిడ్ యూజ్ కాదు అనే విషయాలు. అంటే ఇవన్నీ కూడా మీరు అనాలిసిస్ చేసేటప్పుడు కంపల్సరీ మైండ్లో పెట్టుకోవాల్సిన పాయింట్స్ నాన్న. ఈ పాయింట్స్ అన్నీ మీరు కరెక్ట్గా అనలైజ్ చేయగలిగితేనే ఆ పర్టికులర్ శాంపిల్ని మీరు దేనిలో డిజాల్వ్ చేయాలి లేదా దేంతో డికంపోజ్ చేయాలి, ఎలా నెక్స్ట్ ఫర్దర్గా వెళ్ళాలి అనేది తెలుస్తుంది. ఎందుకనంటే ఒక శాంపిల్ అనాలిసిస్ చేయాలి అని అంటే ఫస్ట్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ థింగ్ ఈజ్ దట్ శాంపిల్ షుడ్ బి కన్వర్టెడ్ ఇంటూ డిజాల్వ్డ్ స్టేట్. సో అది డిజాల్వ్ చేయగలిగాము అంటే సొల్యూషన్ ఫామ్లోకి తీసుకెళ్ళాము అని అంటే ఆల్మోస్ట్ 60% అనాలిసిస్ కంప్లీట్ అయిపోయినట్టే. రిమైనింగ్ 40% ద ప్రొసీజర్. ఓకే రైట్. అసలు ఫస్ట్ దాన్ని డిజల్యూషన్ ఫామ్లోకి అంటే అయానిక్ స్టేట్లోకి తీసుకెళ్ళి డిజాల్వ్ చేయగలిగితే 60% అనాలిసిస్ కంప్లీట్ అయిపోయినట్టే. ఓకే, సో దట్ ఈస్ ద రీజన్ వై దిస్ డికంపోజిషన్ టెక్నిక్ ఈజ్ వెరీ ఇంపార్టెంట్. ఇప్పుడు మనం ఓన్లీ యాసిడ్స్ గురించే మాట్లాడుకుంటున్నాం. ఆ తర్వాత ఫ్యూజన్ టెక్నిక్ అని, సింటరింగ్ ప్రాసెస్ అని, అల్ట్రాసోనిక్ డికంపోజిషన్ అని, ఇవన్నీ కూడా మనం నెక్స్ట్ టాపిక్స్లో మాట్లాడతాం. అలాగే ఇప్పుడు ఇవన్నీ కూడా ఇనార్గానిక్ కాంపౌండ్స్ గురించి మాట్లాడుతున్నాం. నెక్స్ట్ ఆర్గానిక్ కాంపౌండ్స్ ఎలా డిజాల్వ్ చేయాలి దాని గురించి కూడా నెక్స్ట్ ఈ యూనిట్లో నెక్స్ట్ వీడియోస్లో నేను చెప్తాను. ఓకేనా, ట్రై టు కాన్సన్ట్రేట్ ఆన్ ఇట్. సో సమ్వాట్ కొంచెం డిఫరెంట్గా ఉన్నట్టు అనిపిస్తుంది, కొంచెం డిఫికల్ట్గా ఎప్పుడు వినలేదు అన్నట్టుగా అనిపిస్తాయి. కొన్ని పాయింట్స్ తెలిసినట్టు ఉంటాయి, కొన్ని పాయింట్స్ కొంచెం అర్థం కానట్టుగా ఉంటాయి. ట్రై టు కాన్సన్ట్రేట్ ఆన్ ఇట్ సో దట్ యూ కెన్ ఈజీలీ అండర్స్టాండ్. ఓకే రైట్. నెక్స్ట్, decomposition of samples with hydrogen fluoride, that is hydrofluoric acid HF, when compared to other hydrogen halides acids like HCl, HI. HF shows relatively little dissociation. Why? Because it will be dissociated easily. Why? Because if you take one normal solution of HF, about 10% of HF is in the form of HF2 minus and 1% HF is in the form of fluoride ion, means it will be dissociated. And fluoride ion has great affinity for some metallic ions, so that it can produce some complexes like beryllium. If it combined with beryllium to produce beryllium tetrafluoride, okay, or boron compound, fluoride compounds, and some transition elements forms MF6 type of fluorides complexes in the presence of excess fluoride ion. So elements like niobium, tantalum, titanium, zirconium are separated as fluoride ion complexes in ion exchange chromatography. It will be used in ion exchange chromatography also. So it is also used for the extraction of separation of arsenic +3 form, +5 form, germanium +4, selenium +4, tellurium +4, vanadium +3 and +5, and tungsten +6 forms. Okay, it is very useful for the extraction of these ions. Next, hydrogen fluoride or hydrofluoric acid may easily store in polyethylene vessels, and it is stable up to 40% HF at 100 degrees Celsius. Plastic and polytetrafluoroethylene, gold, rhodium, iridium, palladium and platinum are also stable in 40% HF up to boiling point of the acid. So these are the just introduction about hydrogen fluoride, that is hydrofluoric acid. Next, let us go with the applications. Then it is very very important application, that is if you wanted to determine silica, then you need to treat it with hydrofluoric acid so that it can produce silicon tetrafluoride, which is a volatile compound. So after volatilization of silicon tetrafluoride, so you can determine the silica present, means W2 minus W1, like that. Next, decomposition of tin, titanium, zirconium, and germanium with hydrogen fluoride or hydrofluoric acid. Care must be taken because fluorides of these elements are volatile. So, very important. So, while determination of all these elements. Next, in the analysis of silicates, for the determination of alkali metals, ferrous oxide, and trace elements, decomposition is carried out with the mixture of HF and H2SO4. It is very important one. Next, presence of excess fluoride. It leads to some error in the chemical analysis, so that it can be removed by using oxalic acid. So, after dissolution or decomposing with HF, you need to remove excess fluoride ion, or otherwise what happens? Error may take place. If you take as an example, for the determination of potassium in mica, if fluoride ion has not been removed, ఎక్సెస్ ఫ్లోరైడ్ అయాన్ అంటే దాన్ని రిమూవ్ చేయకపోతే దాన్ని ఏమవుతుంది అని అంటే ద కాంప్లెక్స్ ఫార్మ్డ్ రిమైన్స్ పొటాషియం అయాన్స్ కాజింగ్ నెగటివ్ ఎర్రర్. అంటే ఆ పొటాషియం అయాన్ని ఫామ్ అయిన కాంప్లెక్సెస్ అనేవి రిటైన్ చేసేసుకుంటాయి. అంటే అక్కడ ఏమవుతుంది, నెగటివ్ ఎర్రర్ వస్తుంది. కావాల్సిన పొటాషియం అయాన్ ఎంత ఉంది అనేది తెలియదు. అందుకని ఎక్సెస్ ఫ్లోరైడ్ అయాన్ ఉండకుండా దాన్ని సెపరేట్ చేసేయాలి. ఎలా సెపరేట్ చేస్తామనంటే బై యూజింగ్ ఆక్సాలిక్ యాసిడ్, or can evaporate the solution with HCl. Okay, next, decomposition with mixture of hydrogen chloride, that is HCl and HF, with intensive agitation has been, intensive agitation means just vigorous stirring, like has been proposed for the determination of trace amount of ammonium ion in rock. అంటే తక్కువ అమౌంట్లో ఏదైనా అమోనియం అయాన్ ఉంది అని అనుకుంటే then it will be decomposed by HCl and HF. Next, for resistant minerals like tourmaline, the decomposition is carried out with a mixture of HF and H2SO4. I will give you some examples also. Try to go through it. A closed system under pressure. This type of decomposition is used for the determination of ferrous oxide in all resistant minerals. This is carried out in an inert atmosphere. So, for example, a trace element analysis like lead in feldspar. This is the feldspar general formula. It is AT4O8. Here A maybe sodium, potassium, calcium, etc. T is the general term for silicon and aluminum. Okay. So, if you wanted to determine the lead in feldspar, but here you can't observe any lead in it, but lead is present in very trace amount. So if you wanted to analyze trace elements, అంటే అక్కడ ఫార్ములాలో కనిపించవు, బట్ యాజ్ ఇంప్యూరిటీగా ఫెల్డస్పార్ అనే శాంపిల్లో, ఐ మీన్ మినరల్లో ఉంటాయి అవి. సో దాన్ని డిటర్మైన్ చేయడానికి హెచ్ఎఫ్ని యూజ్ చేస్తాం. అలాగే జింక్ ఇన్ పైరాక్సిన్ జనరల్ ఫార్ములా వచ్చి XYZ2O6. ఇక్కడ ఎక్స్ అంటే సమ్ క్యాటయాన్స్, వై అంటే సమ్ క్యాటయాన్స్, ఇవన్నీ కూడా జనరల్ ఫార్మ్స్ ఇచ్చాను, అదొకసారి చూడండి. సో ఇట్ విల్ బీ go through by decomposition with HF. So here for lead determination in feldspar, zinc determination in pyroxene is carried out after decomposition with HF. Otherwise it will not be possible. Okay, right. Next, for determination of titanium in silicates, dissolution with HF is most suitable. If you wanted to determine titanium in silicates, then you can go through it. Next, the accuracy of the determination of germanium in silicates depends on the method of decomposition. If hydrogen fluoride and H2SO4 combination is used, then germanium does not volatile. Otherwise what happens? It will be volatile. So if you wanted to prevent that, you need to use H2SO4 combination with hydrogen fluoride. So I think the decomposition with hydrogen fluoride it is completed. So just conclusion for the determination of silica, next for the determination of tin, titanium, zirconium, germanium, etc. For the determination of silicates, next for the determination of uh, potassium, you should prevent the excess fluoride ion. Next for the determination, you need to go. So here intensive agitation is important for ammonium ion determination in rocks. Next for determination of tourmaline, for determination of lead in feldspar, trace element determination, zinc in pyroxene trace elements, and for determination of titanium, and for determination of germanium. Okay, right. Next, today's assignment question. Just explain the decomposition nature of HCl. Thank you for your kind attention to this video.